Welcome to Actually Controller, the podcast that is actually Controller, and we are actually in control of everything you are hearing right now. I'm so very sorry.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Absolutely Controller.
Really?
Actually Controller.
We've never once been absolutely Controller.
Thank you so much.
I mean, we are absolutely.
No, we're not absolutely.
Thank you so very much for joining us for Actually Controller today.
Jeff's like Jeff's like 7 beers in.
I'm like 2, actually.
So sorry, so very sorry.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Actually Controller. I'm Jeffrey.
I'm Bob.
I'm Steve.
I'm Chad.
I'm Chris. And you do need to see that on Patreon, where Jeff was exuberantly trying to introduce.
I was trying.
He was like jabbing the mic in his mouth.
He's still performing. Fellatio with his mic.
Yep.
I did not shove it in my mouth. Just being excited. Okay.
So
today we are going to talk about Steve. Tell him.
Well, I wanted to tell them first about the fact that about a week from this episode, we will be at Pierre's and Stan's room for the King A10 show.
Drew, come join us. Come hang out with us.
With Eyes of Anguish?
Yes.
Eyes of Anguish, yes.
And
Ruthless Hustle?
Yes.
There you go.
It was ruthless, and I was waiting for you to finish.
Let's see, Corey Stump. Shout out to you. The only name I know right now off the top of my head. I met him through some other projects. So.
Looking forward to playing out with you all and having a fabulous time.
We are going to be playing that show. We got a 30-minute set on that one, so don't dilly-dally. If you want to actually see us, we're not going to be on stage.
Dilly-dally.
Yep.
Yeah, we might very well be opening this. We don't know.
So, the other thing, if you've seen posts going around, this CD right here, there is
For the ones that are on Patreon.
Yes. There is... Oh, yeah, actually... So... Thank you, Chad.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
So,
stop touching my sack, Chris.
Everybody who did not see that, I was holding up the copy of the Between Here and Now CD. If you've seen the post, there are only 5 copies we were able to get made for that. They are not getting any pre-sales. They're not being held on to. They will be available at the show.
First come, first serve.
Yep.
That's right. Show them off, Vanna.
And I can almost absolutely guarantee they will not make it out of that show. They will probably sell out. So,
$50?
$20.
$20 a pop.
Yeah.
We ain't making no more.
Nope. It is a one-time ordeal. This was originally never intended to be put on physical media.
I recorded it, and they were like, yeah, we can record it, Jeffrey. And then they went with it, and then they decided it was good enough to post. So please buy it. I would love it.
So a very limited number of you lucky people will have an opportunity, if you were at the show, to buy the CD. It is once they're gone, they are gone. We were able to get a really lucky deal with this. We're not going to be able to get it again to get these reprinted. So
come be lucky with us.
Yep. So
oh man,
that was bad,
dude. I just ran across my lucky T-shirt,
dude. I have all of my controller shirts folded up and bundled together, and the one at the very bottom of it, I realized the other day, was the lucky T-shirt.
Yep, just got lucky T-shirt. Woo.
Chris doesn't, I don't think, know this T-shirt. This was only available at the CD release show for the first album.
Fine. I love that song.
He loves that song.
Yeah,
that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, love.
Just the wrong vowels.
He loves
just the wrong vowels.
So,
but today, we are going to be talking about Steve. To let him know.
he's laying down the carpet for you.
So
you can just
he's wanting me to.
You know
let
what?
them
No,
in.
you know what? Screw it. I'm going to tell him. So
thank you.
I asked Steve.
No. You know what?
And
Steve,
you know what,
Steve?
I agree. You did ask me, and now I'm going to say that I'm going to ask Bob.
Okay, you want me to go ahead and say?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what?
I wanted to make sure that you guys
Jeff. All right.
Yes, thank you.
Inside voice.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Inside voice. Thank you.
Sorry.
So tonight we're actually going to talk about how we all met.
I'm so very, very sorry.
Very sorry.
So,
so I think it would be easier if we started at one side and just worked.
Chad.
I don't care which
Chad.
side.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk a lot.
Only because
Actually, no. This is pretty easy
because Chris needs all this time to remember everything.
Yeah.
So hold on. Are we all talking about how we all met Chad?
No, Chad's
Chad.
We're all gonna go down the line of how we met each individual person.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. And how you remember them. Now, mind you,
Do you remember?
Do you remember?
I don't remember. Okay, Jeff.
Oh, I know that I met Steve at Legends Sports Bar when my band was playing with his band. I believe it was
You can do it, bud. I believe.
TD. I know. Torrential Downfall.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what band were you playing in?
I was probably in Lucidus.
You were in Lucidus at that point. I don't know if you actually were technically changed it over to Lucid Dis yet at that point, because I think you guys had still thought you were going to do Lucid.
No, we were pretty much Lucidus from the start. Is just the idea was thrown around of possibly dropping it down to just Lucid.
Okay, because I think Ryan kept talking about the idea of...
It was the same meaning, just different language.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I liked the band. Everybody in it was awesome.
I like the guys. I mean,
I kind of would hope so. He agreed to be in the band with them.
We mostly got drunk, so
yeah, you did.
That's fair.
See, this is going to be funny. It's like story time. This is how I met everybody. Now nobody needs to talk about how they met me.
Oh no, we're still going to do that because it could be different.
No,
it could
yeah,
totally be
because
so Chris is like, they've already filled in everything.
Yeah, remember? You remember?
You remember? I remember.
Yeah, so
we're having a big old bowl of member berries.
It was a TD Lucidus show at Legend Sports Bar.
You're forgetting one very vital band that was on every bill with us.
Oh, was it Burnt by Victor?
Damn straight it was.
I remember that. Oh my god.
Oh, Burnt by Victor.
Love you guys.
But
We're all like, oh.
it got to the point. It got to the point where my drummer was getting ready to leave because career reasons. He was moving out of state.
That is ironically who you went and had breakfast with while we were on tour.
But he was constantly going to Steve. He's like, you need to.
This is not going to be a Patreon contest. We're not going to try and
stop
see how many
poking
times
the
we
hole,
can say
dude.
the T
Sorry,
word.
dude. I just want to
Patreon moment.
Sorry, Chad.
But
So very sorry.
my drummer, as he was saying that he needed to leave, he was pushing me onto Steve's other band, Six Lives Out, at the time.
Yeah, because TD was already long done and
moving, and you need to take care of Chad. You need him in your band. You need to take care of Chad.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I already know bassist.
But luckily, bassist was going to be lead.
Yep. I think you're Pinky.
Oh,
There you go.
Hey, wait, no.
Pinky.
Continue. So, did you guys end up fighting?
No.
All right, so Bob
was during the whole creation of Control. Well, 6 months after the creation of Control.
See, the ironic part of that, he was the vocalist for TD.
And that's the thing. I never actually met him during the TD days.
Because I was stuck in the booth at the front of the bar because I was too young.
He was in the kiddie booth.
I was too young to drink.
That's why. Because during those days, I drank a lot.
Yeah.
And I was only allowed to just be up on stage to sing, and then I had to leave.
Yep.
Oh,
because I was
sad.
20. I wasn't 21.
Yeah, I drank a lot back then, so like
stupid nerd. I ain't gonna hang out and meet that guy. So
like
he's
a
at the
kid.
kiddie table.
So me officially
You
meeting
freaking
Bob was
kid.
during the creation of Controller.
After he was no longer a kid.
And it was
Yeah,
like
fair.
6 months after Controller had already started. Because like every practice I could make, Bob couldn't make, and vice versa. And at the time, we were only getting together like once a month.
Yep.
So it was very sparse practicing with
Once,
like,
maybe twice a month.
do we have a vocalist? Steve?
Yeah, I got asked that so many times. Like, I would just get a random call during the week. Hey, out of curiosity, the next time we get together, is Bob gonna be there?
Well,
you keep saying this guy named Bob, and Bob's a pretty easily made up name. Does this guy exist?
and then I'll be quiet.
But over time, me and Bob got to bond over board game and nerdy stuff.
Yeah,
So
D&D and whatnot.
Yeah, we're nerds.
And then a Jeffrey.
What?
I met Jeffrey way back when I
in the
was
day.
like 18.
Like Jesus was in our like freaking like like our.
He just started as a freshman in high school.
I was playing an Image at the time, and he was in Mob 9.
What?
And we did a lot of shows together.
Yes, actually. But the one that I remember the most was over at Georgetown.
Shag Nasty show.
Shag
Oh,
Nasty
God.
show. And the 13-year-old kid getting drug on stage.
One that I remember is Edfest.
Edfest was
You came over because we were making. We did baked beans and we poured
Yeah.
beer in.
Yeah, and
And
I
was
ate the baked
cooking
beans.
the baked beans
It
and
was
beer with
delicious.
other things, and you come over and ate with us, and
Yeah.
you hung out. And
He saw free food. He was like, I'm going to be their
No,
friends.
actually, what happened was Bandy and I were off in the woods because I had gotten a bag of fabulous fungus,
Mhm.
and we were. He was talking about them cooking, and I was like, "Hey, maybe we can throw some fungus in the food that they're cooking."
Because it always goes better with butter.
It does.
It
It
does,
does.
actually, yeah.
Legitimately, it was a different time in my life. Different
Was it
time in my
really?
life. It was.
Okay.
All right. But Chad,
Thank you for that.
But even all the way back then, I've always wanted to have the Jeffrey come play keyboard for me.
I wanted the Chad in my band because he's so groovy.
And it took so many years to actually make it happen, but
Yeah.
when it did, it's like magic.
Yes.
Stick around for the bonus features, Circle Jerk. Featuring Chad and Jeff.
For the riveting game of Limp Bizkit.
Chad loves his band members.
This is true. Jeffrey does too.
And then with Chris was, I can't remember which show it was. I know it was a Kickbacks and Controller show.
I was there.
And
he just showed up.
like,
one day.
we didn't talk a lot to begin with. And it wasn't
You didn't
until-
talk a lot to anybody back in the day.
No. It wasn't
I
until the
talked to
point where
everybody,
like,
but, this much.
yeah, I'd work with you where work was necessary, but it wasn't until I come up to sent Chris the message of going, so when are you going to take your rightful place behind the controller drum set?
For real.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, you want to come hang out with us?
that
We're so
story.
cool.
It's like, I know you, and I know you know me. Why don't you come play drums for us?
Oh, you're happy now.
You guys realize we're going on like 2 years now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy,
Like
isn't it?
literally this month. No.
Next month, I think.
Next
I
month,
want to
yeah.
ask you if you regret anything, but I'm afraid of the answer.
Yeah,
so
we're
just
going to
move
wait
on.
till we get to him so that
Yeah,
way
we're
you
gonna
can
move
you
on.
make the grand
No,
announcement.
That's fair.
The funny part about this is like everyone that I have met has been through me playing at shows with the people. So does that just
Aside
really
from
point
me.
to how antisocial I am?
Yes.
No, you too. Like,
Back then, yes.
Yeah.
You were not the antithesis, but you were close to the antithesis of the antisocial guy at the
I
show.
don't know, man. I knew a lot of his friends, so it was like he wasn't like beyond where I could reach out and like touch
No,
him.
he-
the majority of the time that I would go out to do anything was band related.
Yeah, or game related.
Not then.
Not that early, no.
Wasn't the LARPing thing happening at about that time?
Not back then.
Oh, okay.
He was really into porn.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was married and had kids at a young age.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel that.
Hey, was not married. But
But that's how I met. That's how I met all my bandmates.
That's how I met the controller.
That's so great.
Um,
Wonderful. You get a star. I know.
Yay! Banana sticker.
I want a banana sticker.
Yep. So I guess then if we're gonna go this way, unless we're
No,
Okay.
Yeah, we're
still,
going
still,
that way.
no,
We're
still
going
say
that
your
way.
piece about Chad.
no, that's fine. I didn't know if we were jumping over to Chris.
No, yeah, I don't
I
care.
don't remember how I met any of you. I literally just suddenly appeared in the scene.
So
No, it's Steve's time.
with Chad, for me, yes, we did play all of those shows, but I think the first time you and I actually ever conversed, like in any serious nature, wasn't at Legends. It was in Six Lives Out at Bottoms Up.
Oh God.
Dude, and I apparently, you were having some like personal things going on that I didn't know, because it's not like you and I were close at that point in time,
Right.
and I had only been told, hey, he's the quiet, go lucky, nice guy and everything like that. He just isn't overly social. And I had just looked at you, and all I said was, hey man, what's going on? I'm glad we're playing the show. Where's the wife at? And there was some stuff going on, and you lit me up. You just went after me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know. I didn't talk to you again for like months after that, because I'm like,
I wasn't always a pacifist.
Why you want to know where my wife is, dude?
yeah. So I was like, Okay, cool. I don't know the dynamics. I don't know him. I don't know what the heck's going on. But I know I ain't talking to him for another minute.
All right. I think I think I kind of remember some of the situation, like
We're gonna get the
a band member
Yeah.
was asking to see my wife's testicles at the time.
Oh,
Gotcha.
no.
And so when you were coming up asking about my wife, I'm like, what? You want to see him too?
I'm like, I just was saying hi and trying to make small talk. Cool, bye. So
He's
it was
like-
months after that, but then obviously,
Yeah,
we became-
I guess he was trying to convince her to flash people at the bar. Yeah.
That's messed
hashtag
up.
retake. Jeff, do I
That's
need to take
messed
the
up.
microwave for
I
me?
mean, would that get free drinks? Is that how that works?
I don't
I think
know.
so.
Man, bottoms up, there wasn't a lot you had to do to get free drinks.
Like honestly,
No.
you could show them your feet, and
Yeah.
then you get free drinks.
But yeah, that it would have been probably a
like
few
that.
months later though, and it was a hi, and you're like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, that ain't the guy I met at the bar.
Back to my happy-go-lucky
Yeah.
self.
I'm like, that ain't the guy I met at Bottoms Up. But yeah, I think we were at Legends at that point. You were, 13 Jaeger bombs in at that point.
There you
And
go.
I'm like, we cool? You're like, yeah, we're cool. I'm like, all right, cool. We're cool.
Man, my Legends days always started off when I got to the bar. It was like order 2 Jaeger bombs and a pitcher of beer, slam the 2 Jaeger bombs, and walk around
Yep.
with that pitcher,
Yep,
just drinking
as a
straight from
drink.
it.
Yep.
And
Legend.
then still getting more Jaeger bombs throughout the night.
I wasn't joking when I said you may have been about 13 in at
Yeah,
that
that's
point.
nice.
half the night at Legends, like being able to get a cup to pour out of the pitcher out of was harder to do than getting a pitcher.
True.
So,
Yeah.
like
But let me-
realistically,
How long ago was these Legends days?
Oh.
this is almost 20 years ago now.
No, not that far ago.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes.
No, because with 6 Lives Out,
6 Lives Out, yeah.
that would have been back in
Would have been about 15 years.
that would have been
About
back in
15.
2010
Yeah, 15
Okay.
years ago.
because I moved down to Georgia in 2011.
Right.
And that's when 6 Lives Out split. So we're talking 2009,
you were-
2010.
Yeah, you had 2 good years with 6 Lives Out, and then a
Yeah, it
year
was about-
before that with Torrential Downfall. Or no, 2
No,
years.
it was longer than that
I
because
only asked because my boss was a bartender there at one point, but I think it was several years before 2010.
Who's your boss?
I'm not going to put her on my
Well,
podcast.
you're right,
Okay,
but
word, word.
no,
Oh,
I
tell me
mean
that.
in reality, it's I'm talking about when the
Yeah,
end
it is.
of
It
the
is a
Legends
04,
stuff was.
Yeah.
Beginning of the Legends stuff for the Lucid stuff that we're talking about would have been back in 2003, 2004.
Yeah, easily.
So
I have to ask her.
yeah, that would have been the 2003, 2004,
I think it was around then. Too.
all the way up until like 09.
I used to set up a bunch of shows for them too. So-
But yeah, then with Bob.
Oh, Lord.
Bob,
Here we
I
go.
met
Bob.
Here we go.
all the way back in high school.
with
we
a
did.
chain, right?
Yeah, so Bob was a fresh transplant to good old, safe, quiet Northside High School.
No. Yeah. Okay.
And
Hiss, boo, hiss.
keep in
boo.
mind, this is back in like 99, 98.
Yep.
So the whole goth kid fear and trench coat and all that stuff, all the parents
carry that. Yeah. You have
all of the parents were terrified if you wore too much black and you had the trench coat on and your longer hair, or you dyed your hair to like a weirder color if you went to 29th and Urban to pick up some Manic Panic back in the day.
I mean,
And
Hot Topic was always my thing.
so
When it was still cool.
Yeah.
well, I'm talking like, yeah, Hot Topic was cool, but 29th and Urban was like the OG.
yeah,
Yeah, it was.
and like hot.
My
Get
first
Wet,
pair of Airwalks
like,
came from
Yeah, Get Wet. But before
Funk
like
Emporium.
before that all kind of became just the norm like it is nowadays, we were all very much kind of typecasted by the school and just kind of put on, especially after some bad things happened in Colorado.
Yeah,
We all got put onto a short list.
yeah.
Any of the kids they suspected might ever possibly do this, something like
It's
that in
because you
Fort
all
Wayne.
listen to Marilyn Manson.
Yep. Actually, that was one of the prerequisites.
Yep.
And so one of my friends, and eventually, especially directly after that, became one of Bob's friends, got jumped in the parking lot by multiple football players. And he fended him off fairly well, handled himself okay, but it turned into a, dude, we're not doing this on the school property, but I swear to God, we'll take care of this over at the Y directly after school. Well, apparently, though we got all rallied to go meet up over there. Apparently, the football team got scared, called the cops, and cops were already there waiting for us.
So basically, what Steve is saying is he was part of a gang.
I guess on a technical level.
He was part of a gang.
So,
and the police had to get called.
I didn't know Bob at this point.
Steve's
This
gonna
is
get
me and a
Thug
couple
Life
other
tattooed
friends that are
on
rolling up in the car, but Bob
Surprised that Steve
hears
doesn't
all
have
of this
more
going
face
on, and
tattoos.
Bob is very much, obviously, more in line with our counterculture than the jocks culture.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, what better way to make friends than to just roll up unannounced with a chain in my hand
Ready to fight.
and then tell the cops I was going to the baseball diamond to play baseball when they stop him, asking him what he's
With
doing.
a chain in your
No,
hand,
I had a
bro?
baseball bat in the other one.
Okay.
So
What was the chain for?
Fashion.
it was his wallet chain.
I'll wait. I'll wait till my turn.
So after that, it was one of those, hey, who are you? My name's Bob. Cool. We got a buddy named JP that we usually go hang out at his house. Do you want to come over and chill? Directly after that, it pretty much was a after school every day. He was over at JP's house with us, scenting the air with aromatics. That is legal in certain states.
That's
So,
I'll be a little more blunt on mine.
yeah.
but okay.
Huh?
But
Good use of the word blunt.
I know.
Like that.
That's why I did that.
Thank you,
you
Snoop Dogg.
punny guy, you. Jeff.
Oh no.
Oh God, here we go.
Oh no.
So Jeff, I
Man,
didn't
so
actually meet Jeff. Jeff met me.
As is the Jeff way.
Yeah, as
It
is the way
kind
of the Jeff.
way. I mean, it was a different time.
Yeah. So
That was a different Jeffrey.
were you? So
I was actually.
you were actually, but there's a coffee house here in town called Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in history, that was just kind of for what a reason a default hangout spot. I don't know why.
I worked over at I was trying
You
to be
were working-
legit
yeah.
and working over at IPFW at the time, so it was really easy to do like lunch and hook up with my girlfriend over there when she was off of work because she was right over off.
But I mean, for the mass that would just hang out there,
Yeah, I
there was
don't-
no good reason why. But
I don't know even how we got the gaggle of people.
I don't know either,
because
but
it was like 30, 40 of us that
would just be up there on a
chill
regular basis.
all the time.
yeah,
That was
and
weird.
none of us knew each other
No.
prior to there.
No, and then it became
So
like
it was
family.
cool.
It was weird.
But I was just up there hanging like I did, and there was a girl that I wasn't even trying to talk to at this point in time, but it was expressing interest in me. Apparently, that was on the process of the outs with somebody.
Who happened to be my best friend at that
yeah.
time. That's an important part.
Yep. And if he's watching right now, he already knows who he is.
Yeah. And we love you, Andy.
Yep.
You're awesome.
Cool. I wasn't going to throw that out there for everybody, but
No,
anyway.
I'm throwing it out there because frick it.
No, you just already said his name.
Oh yeah, that. I don't care.
Okay, fair.
He's my best friend. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Either way,
Along with all my other best friends.
yeah. Either way, he had requested.
Yeah, I just stared Jeff down and was like, "What?"
Yeah.
All the best friends that I've had.
Yeah, so Jeff is informed by Andy that I am trying to sneak in and take his girlfriend.
So to be fair, the way that it was explained to
Hold-
me. Yes, here's the thing.
Actually,
Say,
Yeah,
say
I'm
a
going to
small
let him
piece.
actually, because I
Okay.
wasn't in on this part of the whole
Okay.
thing, obviously.
Okay, so I show up at the Firefly, and I have a distraught friend who's like, "She's leaving me, bro," and I'm like, "Okay," and he's like, head broke and not really talking. So I'm like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "It's this other guy." And I'm like, okay. And the way he explained it to me made it sound like it was hecka scandalous. All
Right.
right. Like really scandalous, where it was one of those situations where you were cool with him before and then turned tail and were a jerk to make him look bad or something like that. And so that's why I was like, okay, yeah, that doesn't sound cool. That sounds sketch as, all
Crap.
heck. And I'm gonna go find out what's going on. He had it in his head. He's like, "Oh, you're like related to scary people," which I love you guys, but I'm not scary. And he just had it like that I was going to go beat you up. That
Yep.
was like where his head was.
So now coming back to where I'm aware of everything, no idea at this time really who Andy is. I
Love
know,
you, Andy.
Yeah, love you. But at this point in time, no idea who you were, other than you were somebody that I had seen occasionally up there while I was hanging out at Firefly. And I knew of said now ex of both of ours, thankfully. But I didn't talk to her, didn't know her whatsoever.
No.
And so Jeff all of a sudden, never met this guy before, sits down, he's like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like,
I thought I was walking in to talk to a serious jerk, so I didn't care. As I sat down and I threw out every reason for him to get uppity so we could start this. And every time he just chilled back, and I'm like, man, this guy's not taking any sort of bait. He's not getting bent. He's not getting like sketch. How am I supposed to punch this guy?
I'm just
He
like-
plays guitar. I like the same music he does. What the heck? How am I supposed to be mad at this dude? And then the more I talked to him about it, the more I realized, oh, you don't even know the chick we're talking about.
no.
This isn't even you, bro.
Yeah, I'm like,
So afterward, I have Andy sitting like 3 booths away, watching, just waiting. You could see him; he's just breathing
Punch
and
him,
waiting
punch
for
him,
the
punch
moment
him,
that I
punch
just break this dude, right? And he's not doing it. So I walk over and he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Dude, I can't." Like this guy, like he's not a jerk. I don't hate him. There's nothing. He's like, "Are you serious?" Like, dude, he's serious. And I'm like, the way it makes it sound is like she came on to him, not the other way around. Number one. Number two, she was advertising that she was open to the idea of it from everything we talked about. I'm like, this is not...
and number 3, and I want to add this as a big caveat. I was a very naive individual
He
at
had
this
no
point in my
idea.
life.
He had
No clue that she was even trying to hit on me. Just like, hi,
I'm like,
that's
dude,
cool. Nice
it's
to
like-
meet you.
and I looked at Andy and I'm like, dude, you're basically asking me to fight somebody who has no reason or no idea why I would even be.
Oh, I
punching
just got hit. Why?
exactly. And I'm like, I can't. This is not happening. So, yeah. Yeah, I was supposed to beat up Steve, and now we've
Yep.
been in a band for over a decade.
Yeah, because we were actually working on music well before this band.
This is
just
true.
on the side.
And then we ended up working in like 30 million jobs together.
Yeah. With Chris, I met Chris at a place called Carl's out in New Haven. His other band, Kickbacks, would have been maybe about a year old at this point in time. Maybe. And it was, I think, maybe your second show.
I think you were the first one to meet him
Yeah.
out of our circle.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was either your second or third show. Because this was like supposedly some big bash. It was like 8 or 9 bands. It went on for like 2 days.
Is this a T-Zank thing?
I don't
Might have
know.
been, actually.
I feel like
I don't know who looped us in.
Boston was on it. They had some acoustic.
It was an eclectic everything. There was like some hard metal.
Playing with Walk on Darkness or whatever.
Well, Walk on Darkness was on. Twisted Version was also on, but that was because
Yeah, hip-hop.
he was running
Yeah,
the sound for
yeah,
the whole
'cause-
show.
AMF&J was there.
Mm-hmm.
Zigzag and Pamela, I think, were on too. And
Oh, I miss those guys. I don't
Um,
know if they've been out and about, but they're great.
but yeah, it was one of those. You were like baby to the scene. The stars were still in your eyes. You hadn't been
totally.
contaminated yet.
Completely.
You hadn't been
I was
broken
enamored.
yet.
I'm playing a show.
Yeah.
I'm playing a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was one of those, hey, how's it going? You're like, I'm having the best time ever. I'm like, that's cool. And it was one of those, let's just exchange information.
Speaking of fighting,
Yeah. No, you had
getting punched.
Oh, no.
in fairness, you
I'm about to
had
jump over this table.
yeah. No, in fairness, you had the hopefulness of, the new band at that point in time. We were already
Cynical about it.
huh?
Wait, what?
He said, now I'm cynical about it. Wait, what? It's fine. He drove
We're
us
all
everywhere.
cynical about it at
Wasn't
this
saying
point.
Detrimental.
I
about
appreciate.
that
I
project.
appreciate it, and thank you for driving us.
You're
everywhere.
cynical about it, and that's why you're able to work with this band now.
I'm like, moving on.
But yeah, it was we exchanged numbers at that point in time because at that point we were
Sorry, he zoned out. He was so. He was like,
at least he pulled the mic away and his zone out.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point in time, we were doing a lot of work with Corrosic, and it was one of those. We needed that third band to just kind of have in the Rolodex of hey, if we're trying to build shows and we're still needing somebody else, if you guys happen to be available when we hit you
a
up.
dozen shows.
Yeah.
Year and a half.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So that was
fairly nonstop though. After that though, like
Any combination of the Kickbacks, Contrøller, Corrosic, Walk on Darkness.
Yep. And
Twisted Aversion.
Twisted Aversion.
No, we didn't play with Twisted Aversion.
No.
Oh, we did
we
quite
played
often.
it
Didn't
with
play with them
a
until-
couple times.
Probably the middle of 2016.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did quite often. But
I would have loved to throw an OLC at that time with all this circle,
They
but they
weren't-
weren't
yeah, they
really doing the
they
thing
weren't
yet.
going at
They
that
didn't start
point.
until
Yeah.
2017 or
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that'd be my collection. So
All right, here goes Bob.
Okay.
So back in the day.
So back in the day, we're gonna wind back the. Well, we'll let Steve do his thing, but so yeah, basically what Chad said was pretty true. I will say that when we finally got to where we were performing together and jamming out, it was like love at first sight.
Yes.
So we actually worked really well. Chad is one of my best friends, and I'm surprised that I actually do not remember the TD days of playing with you and like with Lucidus, and I know we played with Lucidus when I was a part of Torrential
all
Downfall.
the time.
All the time. I don't remember.
No.
I don't.
No, I don't remember
do
TD
you
back
remember?
then.
At least we're in the same boat. Okay,
Yeah.
So at least
You remember?
Well, see, I mostly it's like I know Steve from TD, but I remember him mostly from Six Lights
yeah,
Out.
fair.
Yeah.
Fair. And honestly, like TD, that's a whole nother situation. That'll be a conversation for not the podcast. But as far as everything, that when we finally actually got to jam out, because I actually was saying the same thing to him, like, so
Yeah.
am I ever going to meet the bassist and the drummer?
No, you knew the drummer. That was Brandon.
Yeah, 'cause we used to
the first
practice
couple
at
of
his
times we
house.
didn't. First couple, because we were at the jam crib. And there was a couple of times when
Did we do
Brandon,
jam crib?
yeah,
No,
Not
we
with Contrøller.
We started
With Contrøller, yes.
Brandon.
Was that at Jam? It would have
Yes.
been
We
at Jam
did,
Crib.
yeah,
Yes.
we did.
Oh crap! I forgot about
Actually,
Contrøller being
yes.
at Jam Crib too.
we did.
I do remember like the start of Contrøller before Jeff got in. We tried. We had this female keyboardist that we were.
No, that
trying
was
to-
in. Well, that would have been our attempt to try to get Six Lives Out back up and going.
right.
That
it
was
it
before I hollered at
just
him.
before Contrøller started.
Yeah.
when we were starting things up.
yeah.
Because
It's
then I grabbed Steve and was like, let's start a band.
yeah.
I was like, I already got guys on speed dial. If you really wanted a band,
I'm like, let's do the
Fair.
thing then.
Yep. But yeah, so when we were finally able to jam out, it was
Hell
great. So Steve and Jeff will probably be the long stories for me. So yeah, Steve was on point. I transferred from New Haven High School to Northside. I knew absolutely nobody. It was either my first or second day of school. Literally, I hear about, honestly, a fellow goth kid that got jumped. Anybody who
Gorgeous Dan.
Yep, Gorgeous Dan. Dan Manigan.
Dan.
Yep, Dan Manigan. Who him and I became really good friends
charity show?
at one point.
Yeah.
But he, well, when you're a goth kid growing up, you knew, especially transferring to a new school, you knew nobody, you had no friends.
I mean, it was like the late '90s into the early 2000s.
Yeah, so yeah,
you consider
if
too.
you knew nobody, you were the extreme outcast, and Northside was very cliquish, very very cliquish. So I was like okay,
sub clicks within the clicks.
yeah.
Well,
So
and also to paint the atmosphere, we're talking before everybody had cell phones. We're
Yeah.
talking in the day of pagers and
yeah,
whatnot.
well, and you might have been lucky to have a pager, but
I felt like a big deal when I finally got
So-
my first pager.
yeah,
Fair.
Motorola.
Fair.
Yeah, doo-doo-doo.
So
My first one was the Mountain Dew ones that they.
yeah, those are great.
So I had no friends. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, I hear about Dan being jumped, and I'm like, well, screw this. I've been jumped. I've had to fight. At New Haven High School, there was nothing. I'm just gonna say it, there's nothing but hillbillies at the time.
Hey man,
That I went there.
I'm from there.
I know, but you were one of the few
I'm a
that
hillbilly.
weren't.
Don't be making fun of hillbillies.
I'm going to get to you, sir.
You were a riverbilly.
I'm going to get to you.
You weren't a hillbilly. You were a riverbilly.
No, I'm a hillbilly. That's why my arms
you
short.
wait your turn.
That's why I can walk
Jeff,
around the mountain without
Jeff,
being
you wait
offset.
your turn. So, but I was like,
Wrong. I
I've
was
been
born in
jumped. This
Virginia.
isn't cool. It's
Hillbilly
an
is out.
opportunity to make friends. So I'm hearing everybody's talking about it all through the hallways. Even teachers knew. Like, everybody was talking about it. So I'm like, well, it was at the YWCA. I'm like, well, dude, I live like literally I could look at the YWCA from my house. Okay, cool. Went home, dropped off my book bag, picked up this railroad chain, like those huge, like the links themselves are like 2 inches each.
Yeah, they're big.
And it
About
it
his
spans,
body weight
and it spans
at the time.
and I just drug it. I probably wouldn't have been able to swing it, but I would have tried. But I had a baseball because I was lanky. I was like a $130.
Again, I think the chain was about the same weight as
and it was 6 feet. It was 6 feet long.
It was
So
intimidation.
it was, and I had a baseball bat in the other hand. So I said, okay, and I'm still dressed to the nine, like mesh nets, trench coat, whatnot. And I show up, and then as I'm walking up, I see I see the fellow goth standing there, and then as I'm walking up, cop cars spin in, and you have Miss Larson,
from the school,
who's getting out of a cop car.
I'm going to have to pee.
And she's like, well, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. All of you, you're coming with me, and blah blah blah. And then I'm the extreme to where I'm like, okay, yeah, you have no rights now. And she just looked at me. She's like, well, what do you mean? You came here to fight. I was like, ma'am, no offense. I've already been home. I am no longer your responsibility.
Yeah, I got kicked out of school on that technicality.
I've already set foot in my house.
Boom, boom, boom.
I've already set foot in my house. I am no longer your responsibility, and what I do has nothing to do with you. So I'm going to continue on to the baseball diamond, and you have a good day. Well, you're not leaving. You touch me, I swing. And she just looked at me, eyes got big. I was like, I didn't come here for you, so let's not make it that. And I continued walking on, and the cops looked at her and said, if he's been home, you have no jurisdiction. And then all of them looked at me like, who the hell is this kid?
Yeah, kind of.
None of them knew me, but I was so intent of, okay, if you're singled out and you're an outcast and you know nobody, it's like I've been to jail. So it's like the whole prison situation of if you don't know anybody, nobody's got your back, you're screwed. It's just the way it is. So you had to develop friends. From then on, I had Steve look at me and I was like, dude, who is this kid? This kid's cool. What? Like what? And then JP, legit. The first actual hanging out with Steve, I remember specifically calling him out and telling. I want to say the word, but I'm afraid it'll be censored, so I called him a wimp. I actually said something different because JP was like, hey, I have this immaculate setup of how we can indulge in fragrance. And so how about you hit this? And I said, okay, cool. And I hit it. And, of course, it almost made me die. And then I looked at Steve, and I was like, Steve, are you going to do this? She's like, no, I'm cool.
After watching him, literally was like,
no, I'm cool. So I call him out, and then from there, he glared at me, and then I was like, yeah, you're a wimp. You're this, and he's just like, no, but I could still fragrance you under the table.
I can fragrance you under the table.
So code word.
What world are we living in?
Right. So, but from then on, it was kind of a love-hate relationship. Actually, always kind of has been with me and Steve. But nothing but actually a lot of respect to this man here.
So okay, I will throw one caveat into a big part, a big dynamic of our relationship. So Bob worked at Wendy's. Bob was the only one who worked at fast food.
I was the only one with a job.
Shut up. So,
no, that's not a lie. That's the truth. That's the truth.
You were part of it at this point.
No, it doesn't matter. I heard.
Shots fired.
Hold on, no, hold on. At 16 with Wendy's, you could be a crew leader, which technically made you management. So I got free meals for myself and a 50% discount. So everybody was like, hey, Bob.
So after we partake in fragrances and we're all sitting there going,
we're hungry.
I could indulge.
So like, hey, Bob, can we go to Wendy's? I'm like,
Bob,
can we go to Wendy's? My boss hated me because we'd walk in and she'd see
Also,
me
we're
and all
sorry,
my
Wendy's.
friends, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, how many today?"
It's like, we need 15 junior bacon cheeseburgers.
And there was, well, hold on,
Because we're all broke.
no, hold on. Yeah, because they were.
Yeah, we ain't doing meals.
At the time, they were 69 cents.
Yeah, something like that.
So it was like, okay, so no. You said 15. That depends on how many people were with us.
Right.
There was one time we all went in, and there was like 6 of us.
Yeah.
And I'm taking tally, and I'm like, oh, Bonnie's gonna kill me. Bonnie's gonna kill me. And I look at Bonnie, and she's like, how many you get? And I said, can I get 40?
What's Bonnie's last name?
Milligan.
Okay.
I was like, Bonnie's gonna kill me. Bonnie, can I get 40 junior bacon? She's like, you're getting back here and you're helping me make these.
And we're all just sitting in the lobby like, love you, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
And I
Here's
was
my
like,
cut.
I was like, so am
That's
I getting
awesome.
any of these for free? She said no. She's like, it's 50. You're getting 50% off of 40 sandwiches. Shut up. I'm like, okay. So
That's actually a very fair.
yeah.
Holy
yeah,
crap!
yeah.
I'd go back and help make my own.
Yeah,
for that.
So, I mean, but I had it like that. No,
Now, keep in mind,
So-
we could only do this at the downtown location.
Right.
We couldn't just go to
Well,
any Wendy's.
actually, no. We were at Coliseum.
Oh, that's right. It
Location,
was the Coliseum
which is
one.
gone now.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Because it was right next to the Fazoli's.
And then you got transferred to downtown.
Yeah, well, and
Right.
that's a whole. I'm not talking about.
Yeah,
that.
whatever.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, so
Cliff and all
Jeff.
Jeff.
Okay, so technically there's 2 separate instances with
so
Jeff.
he's going to
Yeah.
say have his how he hates Jeff story.
No, actually no.
Yeah,
Well, no,
the
no,
first
no.
one might have
Actually,
been.
no.
First
Well,
one might have been.
no, because no. So all right. So I was going to New Haven, and the whole situation, as I recall, was I was a lot different when I was younger, a lot more loud and very willing to just be
Patreon
like
moment.
I'm very willing to just like mess somebody up for just running their mouth,
Loud.
or even if I heard that someone was running their mouth.
Just loud.
So Jeff,
Was
one of
he
his
loud?
really good friends, who I never met. I never met Scott.
Oh yeah.
I never met Scott.
You
I
guys were supposed to
heard.
fight, right?
I heard through the grapevine that he was running his mouth.
I love how a lot
From-
of these little
from-
meetings that have to do with
from-
fighting.
From a friend of mine at the time,
I was
who,
gonna beat him.
who I'm actually no longer friends with.
Oh my god.
But because Harley said that it was like a he said, she said, she said, and I'm like, well, screw this dude.
it was all because Harley ran off with a bunch of the flower
Yeah.
that
I know.
that
Fragrance.
that was technically it was like supposed to be mine, I guess. Like, but I wasn't super upset about it. But everybody that
But
was,
Jeff doesn't
else
like
was.
to fragrance himself.
Yeah.
So what?
Same.
So Harley told me that Scott was running his mouth, and the tunnel that at one point, I don't know if it still does,
Yeah.
that connected the high school and
Yeah.
junior high.
Underneath.
You guys were in high school. I was in junior high. And so I'm like, well, screw this dude. So, of course I was the goth kid. So I had I didn't have the extreme of chains like I did when I met Steve. But I had the spike bracelet, and I'm like, okay, I wrap it around my fist. I'm like, well, this dude's going to be taller than me because I was 5 feet tall until my junior
I'm
year.
certainly glad you didn't get shot that day.
That's fair. but here's the thing. I would have gone down with a fight. But I sat there and I walk up and I'm like, so I'm hearing this. And then Scott looks at me and you're standing there.
Yeah. Who the heck is this kid?
There you
Yeah,
go.
we're both looking at him like, who the heck is this
and,
kid?
and I'm looking at them saying, this is what I heard. This is what was said. What's going? And legit, I gave you the opportunity to say your piece. Scott looks at me. He's like, "Who are you?" And I was like,
It was one of the weirdest, awkwardest.
Hi, I'm Bob.
It was so awkward. And
Yeah.
then you look at me, and he looks at me. He's like, "Do you enjoy fragrance?"
Yeah, we ended up. We're like, that never happened. What are you doing? We're gonna go smoke. Are you down?
And I was like, "This sounds fantastic." And then ironically, after that, I remembered the situation. Never hung out with them again
Yeah.
until
Till after the band.
Jeff and I. Jeff and I actually ended up hanging out at Omega one night. We talked about it.
Yeah.
And then from there,
That
it
was
was
the band.
that's really where I consider the start of our friendship, because you were like, dude, there's this band called 30 Seconds to Mars. You've got to come listen to them. We went out, first album, and we went out to Easy Clips. We sat down, and then he started showing off his car, and he's like, dude, we got to go for a ride. Let's go. And we just whipped up and down Coliseum, came back, and then he was...
Jeff liked to do that.
He did.
I did.
And then
he wondered why his toy broke quickly.
And then we enjoyed...
Whatever, dude. Okay.
Then we enjoyed more of a fragrance, and then,
The whole Eclipse disappearing on me was because it got taken away by the man. Okay.
You told me this.
Because of going around 469 slightly faster than I should have been.
How fast?
About 96 miles over the speed
No,
limit.
that's only slightly.
96 miles over the speed limit. Yeah.
That's only slightly.
Because we had just put, what was it, Venom adjustable cam gears in my car over at Jason Feldheiser's house. Hi, Jason, I love you. And as we were trying to get everything dialed in, I was like, man, it's running hot as heck. And he's like, just give it some gas. We'll take it around 469. We'll see if we can't top it out. We were checking to make sure we shut the governor off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The
That's what you
police
did.
apparently
I
saw
think
us.
you may have achieved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my license taken
So-
away for like a year.
So real quick. So Chris.
Yes.
So
Oh.
I'm fairly certain because I've seen you so much in and out of
it had to
like
have been a
hanging
karaoke
out.
situation.
Probably.
Ooh.
I think the initial meeting of you was at karaoke of hanging out with my ex, but I want to say, I really believe the first time we hung out is when you ended up playing a show with us. And actually getting to know you, and even then, I didn't talk to you a whole lot because if I don't know somebody, I usually leave them the hell alone.
That was by design.
But I mean, just
We wanted Chris to join.
yeah. So I gave you the silent treatment, and then
Wanted him to join so we
And
don't
then
make him leave.
I think the actual time when we started to really get to know each other is when we hung out at karaoke one night, and I honestly got pretty crap faced and crap faced, and you were drinking on Crown.
Nope.
No, it wasn't Crown. It was Jack. You drinking Jack and some Jack and Diet Coke, which I was like, what? And I think I judged you, and then you judged me for drinking what I was drinking, and then we just started laughing at each other, and then
Both watching your girlish figures.
Sounds like an O'Sullivan's.
it was so, and just hanging out with doing karaoke, and then that was really it. It was a lot of karaoke days with Chris, and then. He actually gave me a compliment one time. He was like, "You know what, dude?" He goes, "You have a lot of presence when you sing, man. I appreciate it." He's like, "It's really great." And he's like, "Your vocals are pretty on point most of the time." I was like, "Most of the time." And I was, he's like, "Yeah." He goes,
Half-handed compliments.
He goes,
yeah.
That sounds like a real meeting you had with Chris. I think this is a real memory.
Yeah, I think this is truly what happened.
He's like, you go flat sometimes, but you hold your note. I'm like, well, thanks.
Nice backhanded compliment.
Dude, this sounds like a real moment.
I love it.
I was like, oh,
really
great,
good.
thanks. And I just kind of looked at him like,
hug and a little punch to the nuts.
the funny thing is, I looked at him and I'm just like, thank you. And I'm like, he's drunk. He's
The funny thing is, he wanted to come over and punch me because I was doing a weird comment earlier. But apparently, that's why we get along, because apparently he does the same thing.
Nut punching.
In a defense to Chris, he was pretty crap faced.
That was pretty regular at O'Sullivan's on those days.
Yeah.
So
I had a routine. I knew exactly where my threshold tolerance was. Now
I need some popcorn.
Nope. It was I would do the open mic jam. I would have a shot, a drink, 3 tacos, and then I would go to O'Sullivan's and have a shot and a drink, 2 drinks, and I go home.
So at
I
least
need
you had,
popcorn.
Like a whole
Bye.
schedule.
I didn't do popcorn or
Of
peanuts
things.
there for the longest.
No, I'm not saying that you
I
did.
know.
Popcorn was
I know.
good there. I love O'Sullivan's popcorn.
I'm serious. Once I found out O'Sullivan's had boats of peanuts, I'm like, yes.
Peanut boat.
He wants a boat of nuts.
Thank you for listening to Actually Controller. If you liked what you heard, please consider following us on all our socials. You can easily find us on all the different platforms by going to linktree/controller33 or scan the QR code if you are watching the video version of this episode. Thank you.